Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Tiara Rahman, and I'm the Director of Professional Development for BOMA, New York. I'll be your host for today, so if you have any technical difficulties, just send me a private message in the chat. We'll be holding all questions until the end of today's presentation. However, you are welcome to drop any questions into the questions feature in the upper right-hand corner of your screen throughout the presentation. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chris Caton to get us started.
Great, good afternoon. Thanks, Tiara. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Chris Caton. I'm a director at Code Green Solutions here in New York City, and I'm chair of the BOMA New York Energy and Sustainability Committee, one of the co-hosts for today's event. So really excited to have a great program for you. One plug, if you like what you see here and you're interested in learning more, the BOMA Energy and Sustainability Committee, we meet every month at 1 Penn in the middle of the city, and reach out to Tiara if you'd be interested in getting more involved. We're looking forward to bringing more folks into that group. So I'll be circling back at the end with some Q&A, but I'm going to introduce you to Andrea Barragan, who will be our moderator for today. Andrea, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chris. We're all excited to be here today, and it's a pleasure for us to welcome you to this discussion. We are honored to have a distinguished panel with us today, leaders in energy efficiency and sustainability, who will provide invaluable insights in navigating incentives and rebates. Today we have Valerie Corbett, Alexander Jung, Eric, unfortunately Eric Ketterman could not join us, but Alex Corral is here with us, and Linnea Patton. With that being said, we are discussing energy incentives and rebates, and what this means to you guys in terms of achieving maximum savings. We do have a strategic approach in how to leverage these programs and help you how to offset a lot of these programs that you're already taking by improving your ROI. We want to be able to allow you to save costs, decarbonize, and be strategic with your planning. So how we're able to do that is through programs through Con Edison, NYSERDA, and to bring awareness to these incentives and rebates and how you can benefit from them. Your participation on these programs are the continuing success of these programs, allowing utility companies to support energy efficiency initiatives in buildings like yours. So a lot of these programs actually are encompassing many different utility companies. BOMA recently onboarded BOMA Long Island, and with that, there's also programs through National Grid and PSE&G. We want to be able to discuss the New York State Clean Heat Program, NYSERDA, and with that, we actually have participation from the New York City Accelerator Program, which was a program that was launched by New York City Mayor's Office of Sustainability to help building owners and operators be able to comply with local laws and reduce carbon emissions. It also provides advisory services and supports energy efficiency, electrification, and renewable energy upgrades in buildings. And without further ado, here to talk about the New York City Accelerator offerings and joining us every month at the BOMA New York Energy and Sustainability Committee, providing invaluable information, is Valerie Corbett.
Hi, good morning. I'm just going to turn this off for a second. So welcome to the presentation today. A lot of you I know in the audience are probably very familiar with the accelerator and Local Law 97 and 88, but I'm just going to go through these slides very quickly in case you missed something along the way, and we're going to distribute these slides at the end. So if you didn't catch what was on the slide, no worries, you're going to get a copy of them anyway. As Andrea said, this program, it comes from the Mayor's Office. We've been doing this work since 2015, so we're going into our 9th year now. And we do offer free technical guidance. You just have to call up the number I'm going to give you, and your buildings or portfolio buildings are already assigned to an account manager. We have experts on the team in finance, solar PV, new construction, all kinds of things. So we can help you figure out how to move forward. Oh, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so step one for the accelerator is just to call that number that you see on your screen or email us, and we will assign you to someone immediately. You usually start talking to them within a day or two. And then if you go to our website, it's very rich in resources, as you can imagine, because we've been doing this since 2015. So we have case studies, we have a whole incentive map of all the programs you can link up to. We have all the information about the building energy laws. We even have your building there in a lookup tool, and we offer training. Next step is you give us some information about your building or the portfolio. We analyze it, we get back to you right away, and we help you figure out next steps. So next slide, please. Next slide. Then we'll ask you for things like your local 87 energy audit, your benchmarking, and we'll analyze all that. And then we will prioritize projects that we think you might want to consider, sort of first, second, third, what the incentives are, how to find the appropriate contractors, which again, we have on our website and we'll show you that. And then how to access each available incentive either from the utility companies or NYSERDA. And go to the next slide, please. So we are trying to help you understand how to comply with Local Law 97. Get on the same page with us, and then we'll help you. Sometimes we talk to building owners and they've looked at a particular project and they say, oh no, we can't do this. But then we actually come up with a different idea, and then they're like, oh, you're right, we can do this. So give us a chance to work with you and help you figure all this out. I know it's daunting, but we're here to help you figure it all out. Next slide, please. So these are the local laws that you have to comply with so far. And 84, 87, 88 is the lighting one that you had to comply with by the end of the year and send in your report by May 1st. These other ones on the right, you're very familiar with. You're going to be focusing more on Local Law 97, and we're going to get into that and 88 a little bit more. So go to the next slide, please. You're familiar with this. This is the grade that comes out of your benchmarking every year. So you're assigned a number, an Energy Star score, and then we equate that to a letter score, and that's what you have to post in your building. So if you're a little embarrassed about that grade, we can help you make it better. Yeah. Now don't worry about 92 and 94. These are requiring you to put solar PV and green roofs. It really means for brand new buildings, or if you're going to literally tear off your roof and start with a brand new roof. It doesn't mean when you just upgrade a roof you have to do this. So don't worry about that too much. Get to the next slide, please. PACE financing, I'm going to get to in another section below. This is Local Law 96, and of course, it's all voluntary, but it's really designed for commercial buildings. So I'll go through that in a few minutes. Go to the next slide, please. So these are all the laws again, just trying to help you sort it all out because it is kind of daunting. So you already know 33, 84, 87, 88 is due this year, 97 is due this year. Go to the next slide, please. And these are samplings of the fines if you don't comply. The one that really adds up, I think it's on the next slide, go to 97. That's the one that can really add up because we take the difference between the pre-assigned carbon emission limit and subtract whatever it was you actually produced, which we can see in your benchmarking, and multiply that difference times $268. And that's for each month. Then you multiply that times 12. It can really add up quickly to $100,000 for a big building. So it's worth it to, to try to comply. Well worth it. Article 321 is for affordable housing, and I'm guessing most people in the audience are commercial building property managers, service providers, or owners. So I'm going to skip that unless you want me to talk about it more at the end. Go ahead. Okay, 88, go ahead. Okay, this is for lighting upgrades and electrical submeters. It's very clear that you have to comply with the code either in effect now or the code when you did the lighting retrofit at the time. I think we have a slide that explains that a little bit better, so go to the next slide. And so it's for buildings over um, 5,000 tenant spaces over 5,000 square feet. Again, commercial tenant spaces have to be sub-metered, but this law is really meant for buildings 25,000 square feet or above. And you have to comply this year. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is the chart I was trying to explain to you. So if you did your upgrades, let's say in 2014, you would have to comply with the depending what the registered design professional thinks makes sense, but it looks like either the 2014 or the 2012 IECC. And when we say that you may have upgraded your lighting several years ago, but you now have to provide proof that you complied with the code at the time, with invoices, signed contracts, etc. So that's a lot of paperwork. If it's too complicated, then just comply with the current code. It'll be a lot easier. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, 97. Okay, this is just the history timeline of Local Law 97. That's just for your information. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we're stressing to everybody that gross floor area measurement is really critical. Do not rely on gross square feet, which is in the Department of Finance records for property taxes. That is absolutely incorrect to use. You're not supposed to use gross square feet. The law says gross floor area. The main difference is that gross floor area includes the basement and sub-basement, or cellar, if you'd rather call it that. It includes a lot of little areas on the roof that extend above the roof, little dog houses for the elevator shaft or elevator motors and stuff like that. So by measuring gross floor area, you come up with generally a much larger area than gross square feet, and that benefits you when you're doing these calculations for the penalty. So don't just forget about it, because for like $4,000 to $10,000 to measure, from a regular to a huge building, you can save way more than that just by having the right number in your calculations. Okay, and then that's the grade again, and you have to post that. Okay, keep going. Next slide. Okay, I made a little mistake here. It's going off the page, but in Local Law 97, we have the Energy Star portfolio manager types. There's 60 now, over 60, and there used to be just 10. So make sure when you do your benchmarking that you are acknowledging these different types, and that you've assigned a gross floor area to each type. Again, we're just trying to help. This gives you a much better calculation than if you just leave it up to office, just say office. That will hurt you in the end if you do have other kinds of space types in the building. Okay, next slide. And here's an example of the Empire State Building. I just use this because it's public and everybody knows they've been working very hard to make this very energy efficient. So they don't have any penalties now until 2035, which makes a lot of sense. It's a huge building, and they use a lot of electricity. They've reduced their gas obviously a lot. They're using district steam, which has a low coefficient. So all in all, they're doing very well. Next slide, please. These are just other examples of other buildings that may have a penalty or not have a penalty, and in which year. Go to the next slide. This slide is an example of the measures that you can take to reduce your carbon emissions, to reduce greenhouse gases. You see the figures on the right. Those are by the percentages of greenhouse gas reduction. So if you're just going to stick to lighting and sealing windows and so on, you're not going to accomplish much. That's the first row. If you do something more like roof insulation, air sealing, you could benefit by 50%. And if you are one of the lowest performers with a high, a D grade and a very low number, then you should start looking at the last row. Start doing something significant to upgrade your building. New roof, new windows, electrify, and so on. Again, we'll help you with all this. So this is the rules package for Local Law 97. There are other, other things to consider if you are having difficulty complying with Local Law 97. So there's beneficial electrification. There's special events that happen. We'll help you with that. There's another slide that's going to show this. Or if you're a critical facility like a lab, a hospital, data centers. There's all kinds of exceptions for these. Again, if you are going to have a really bad grade, then you want to start preparing for some kind of penalty mitigation. And this slide helps you to figure out that. Again, if the slide seems complicated, just call us and we'll help you with that. Go to the next slide. So these are some of the deadlines again for your carbon emission reduction pathway. And you want to do as much as you can to demonstrate that you're going to comply with the later the numbers in the future, rather than just the 24 to 29 now. You can't just sit around and wait. You have to keep improving the energy efficiency of all your buildings. The last line says no RECs, renewable energy credits in the first compliance period, 2024 to 2029. So you can't rely on that. That's because the city really wants you to improve your building's performance. Go to the next slide, please. Keep going. So today, Con Edison and NYSERDA are going to give presentations on their energy efficiency incentive program. So I'm just giving you a taste with a list of some of them, but there's far more than this. And I have links to all this too. If you want it, I can always give you that. PACE financing, go ahead with that slide. Okay, the benefit of PACE financing is, you can just keep going to the next slide, is that it's a very long-term financing. Again, go to the next slide. That goes on your property tax bill, and it can be as much as 30 years. So if you're looking for a source of financing that will enable you to do a long-term capital expenditure and have the cash flow of the loan sort of match the cash flow of the project itself, this is the best source of financing for you. And we can help you get there. Believe me, it's a lot easier for commercial buildings to do this than for multifamily buildings to do this. And we have an expert on our team that does nothing but financing. Go to the next one. And they'll tell you all about life cycle and when you should start financing and so on. Go to the next one. And I always work with the financing expert as well. Okay, go to the next one. And then that's the roadmap. Okay. I think we discussed that a little bit. Go to the next one. Go to the next slide. And okay, those are the financing options. We do leasing, energy service agreements. We do equipment loans, conventional green mortgages. There's NYSEG that does loans that other people might not do just for energy efficiency projects. And just so you know, it's a multitude of products, not just loans. Go to the next one. The next slide. Keep going. Okay, this is for the service providers in the audience. If you're not already on the accelerator service provider list, please consider getting on our list. We vet all the service providers before we allow them on our website. If someone researches your name or researches a type of project or service that you will provide, your name will pop up. And we prefer that you be in some of these incentive programs like Con Ed, NYSERDA, National Grid, etc. And you'll be surprised how much your business will increase just as a result of being on this website. The service providers are thanking us all the time for this. You'll gain market recognition and so on. We still have to suggest, at least 3 firms, but your name will come up if there are products that you provide. Okay, keep going. So it's a benefit to you. Right now, these are the main categories of service providers, but there's more. It grows every day. We have new things every day. Keep going, and I think that's going to be the last. I think we've sent out requests for qualifications. If you got it and just ignored it or didn't know who it was from, go look for it. Otherwise, call us and ask us for it. And okay. And just, there's the number again. Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll do questions at the end, I think.
Thank you, Valerie. We've actually had the pleasure of working with the Kana team, specifically Eric Canterman and the rest of the business development team over at Con Edison. Unfortunately, He was not able to join us today, but he's been instrumental in educating clients about these incentives and rebates that are available. However, as a participating contractor for Con Edison, I will be sharing his slides on his behalf. Additionally, we do have Alex Squirrel from Con Edison here as well to answer any questions you may have. So please, as we go through a lot of these slides, just be sure to share them in the chat with us, and we'll be answering them at the end of the presentation. So with over 200 years of Con Edison assisting New York City, they have come up with the Energy Efficiency Incentive Program for CNI. And we've seen that over the past decade is an indicative of the rapid changes occurring in the utility industry, specifically spurred by the momentum of clean energy economy. When energy efficiency programs were put in place, it was a fringe of the department buried in the engineering and planning, which is part of the electrical operations of the largest organization in Con Ed. Now, fast forward 10 years of several reorganizations later, they are now one of our major organizations. So it really shows how the company is focusing and business model has changed. Con Ed has been providing safe and reliable power to New York City for 200 years. Most of that time, the business model was the same, building out infrastructure to serve the energy needs of the growing city. You wanted power, they connect you to a meter, they bill you, and you pay. Very transactional. Now, with the clean energy economy picking up steam, pun intended, Con Edison's diverse and savvy customers expect more, and they deliver by investing in energy efficiency and positioning themselves as trusted energy advisors by educating customers, providing options and incentives to be more efficient and use less of their products. So 5 of their core pillars that they've built is to build the grid of the future, empower all of the customers to meet their climate goals, reimagine the gas systems, and lead by reducing the company's carbon footprint, and partner with you, their stakeholders. Commitments that align with you, not just the property owners, the legislators, the equipment manufacturers, contractors, and climate activists. And what they're committed to doing is to get you paid for upgrading and saving money. So you're able to receive a lot of these incentives for investing in your systems that can significantly reduce your energy bills. They want to be able to allow you to invest in technologies that often lead to improved operational performance, that increase the marketability of a building, the branding of a building, and that eventually promises to increase the value of those properties and the rental income they have. They're also committed to helping you through those local law compliance aspects. And they encourage you to partner up with their team, whether it's through their business development folks or their participating contractors. Now, we touched on Local Law 97 primarily because a lot of their efforts are leaning towards making sure that we decarbonize these buildings. Here's an example of what Valerie talked about, in where a 1.5 million square foot building with 14,550 metric tons of carbon with 1,016 metric tons over its limit is going to produce fines between 272,000 from 2024 to 2029. That fine will increase up to $1 million plus come 2030. Now, to get to the meat and potatoes of this presentation, here are the eligible measures that will allow you to qualify for an incentive. These measures are key to unlocking financial support through Con Edison programs, helping you to maximize energy efficiency while reducing costs. Let's go through them in detail. So smart building electrification, building envelope, advanced controls for heating electrification, waste heat recovery. Any HVAC upgrades includes fuel switching, primarily going electric, chiller replacement, boiler furnace replacements, unitary air conditioners, chiller tune-ups, boiler tune-ups, any type of HVAC controls. What we've seen is a trend to be able to optimize systems to BMS. BMS units are yielding a significant increase of incentives. Demand control ventilation. If you don't have a demand control ventilation system, they're highly encourage you guys to be able to go through that process. Motors and drives, air compressors, and VFDs. EC motors, if you have an HVAC system that does not have an EC motor, they want to be able to have you implement these initiatives. Refrigeration systems mostly applies to buildings that do have grocery stores, in which you can implement door gasketing, refrigerated case replacements, amongst others. And we'll share this slide, that way you guys have it available to you whenever you're undergoing your CapEx program, so that you can actually see what's eligible. Other eligible measures is prescriptive and custom pipe installation, elevator modernizations, and telecommunication switch. Now, Con Edison has spent a significant amount of time focusing on building envelope. They have increased it by 25% since last year, and this includes window replacements, installations of secondary window systems, also known as window inserts, exterior wall and roof insulation, and other upgrades. And you can actually see how they've incentivized this by increasing it to 85 cents per kWh, $150 per steam pounds, and $25 per therm, as well as $15 per gallon per fuel oil. Now, fuel switching. If you have a steam absorption chiller, anything that you're powering with either gas or steam, whether it's a gas fire boiler, you can actually switch that to an electric system, an electric chiller, an electric boiler. They're going to heavily incentivize this as well. Going on to waste heat recovery. This has been highly anticipated coming back from Con Edison. And this is primarily for systems that reuse waste heat to provide space conditions or domestic hot water heating. For industrial and commercial, this includes boiler economizers, heat recovery steam generators, recuperators and generators. And for commercial and building applications, this applies to your absorption chillers, heat recovery ventilation, and for those of you who have data centers and refrigeration in your system, in your buildings, you can actually reuse and capture the heat from data centers and redirect it to space for heating and district heating. In supermarket and refrigeration, you can actually use the heat from refrigeration systems for water heating. These are all measures that Con Ed want to incentivize. This talks regarding fuel switching, again, incentivizing at $70 per MMBTUs. And here's the fact sheet. We want to make sure that we have the application being properly filled out, that we have the statement of work that encompasses the entire scope of work, the tool and the energy analysis, along with the W-9 to be able to make that payment, and the cut sheets. The reason why we wanted to host this webinar is because the application package for a lot of these bonus incentives have deadlines. So we want to be able to have you submit your project application package between December 1st and May 1st in order to achieve the bonus rate, which you can see even for a steam trap replacement, rather than $300, Con Ed wants to make a payment of $400. Once you actually are able to finish the installation and submit the required paperwork by June 30th, you want to be able to pass and schedule post-inspection by July 31st, confirming that you've installed the actual equipment. Here, we're actually going to go through the whole timeline of the CNI program. Once you actually confirm that you're eligible for one of these programs, you want to submit the application package, work with either your business development rep or a C&I contractor. Pre-inspection is critical. You must schedule your pre-inspection as soon as you can before starting the project. In terms of how Con Ed actually works through this, they have strict guidelines. They cannot award any type of monetary funding for projects that have been completed. Once you actually have, you hear us say often, a PIOL is your preliminary incentive offer letter, you then will receive a notice to proceed, which allows you to move forward with the project. Once you have completed the work, you can then schedule a post-inspection, which allows you to go through final engineering and review. And you'll receive your incentive payment thereafter. We want to talk about Brooklyn and Queens because you do have diverse portfolios. So there are incentives geared towards Brooklyn and Queens, especially for businesses. So whenever you do have a project happening within this district, Con Ed wants to further incentivize you. So if you have questions regarding this, please feel free to reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to guide you through that. Now, we do have Alexander Jan, who's here to get us more familiar with NYSERDA. We work very closely with them through a lot of FlexTech programs. And the New York State Clean Heat program is actually one of the offerings that combine with NYSERDA. So the partnership with Con Ed is integral to this program. And what is intended to do is intended to actually incentivize clean heat programs, therefore incentivizing heat pumps, VRFs, mini split systems, energy recovery ventilators, and the list is erased. So this covers up to 50% of the cost and 100% of the measure. And what this means is that all of the programs under C&I covers up to 50% of the project cost or up to $1 million. For the New York Clean Heat bonus incentives for this year, your application must be entered by April 1st, and all the requirements must be submitted by July 31st. Post-inspection, which is coming close, is going to be coming up to August 29th to be able to submit that. And anything ranges to your total incentive for bonus anywhere between $145 up to $275, depending on the measure. Here's a list of all the participating contractors network that Con Ed has. And as you can see, is a white list of PCs, 1,019 folks that are here and willing to help you. And for this slide, I'm going to welcome Linnea to tell us a little bit about the financing for these projects that Con Ed has to offer.
Great, thank you, Andrea. So I'm Linnea Payton. I lead the Con Edison pilot programs, and one of the programs we're running is called low interest financing for technology. And what it does, it allows you to get a low interest loan that Con Edison is effectively subsidizing the interest rate on for energy efficiency projects. So any project that you are applying for incentives for, if you're interested in getting financing for that project, you'll send one of you can see on our website, we have our financial service providers. You would send your incentive offer letter that you get from the commercial, industrial, or multifamily efficiency program to that lender, and they will tell you how low of an interest rate you could get and at various terms. And if that's attractive to you, then you send in an application to my team, the financing program, and we will review it with the lender and approve it. And then the lender can actually often pre-fund projects up to 50% before install. So it can really help with overcoming any like cash flow or budget cycle challenges that might be holding projects back. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me at eefinancing@coned.com. I will say on clean heat projects, we currently don't have low interest loans for that, but many of our lenders do offer traditional financing for clean heat projects.
Great, thank you, Linnea. I'm going to pass the mic over to you shortly as well. But we just wanted to recap in regards to the CNI program, in regards to best practices and lessons learned. When you do submit a project, make sure that you're actually providing all the proper documentation, that the pay information is accurate, that we have a full scope of work, and we typically guide you through that process. Making sure that you get that PIOL, making sure that you actually schedule your pre-inspection. There's also been times where we walk into a site, they've gone through all the process except for scheduling a post-inspection, and the payment is never received because of that. So following through that entire process is extremely critical. Also, responding promptly to the queries that the engineering team has is critical. So oftentimes Con Ed is able to do their own engineering, but they do upload some of that work to third-party engineers. And we typically, from an owner's perspective, could become a little challenging in terms of being able to answer those questions. Just make sure that if you don't have the answer, don't leave it hanging there because it will delay the process. Just make sure that you engage with either your team, whether it's in-house or if you're outsourcing it, so that you can get this information out. And back to you, Linnea. I want to introduce, again, Linnea, who's been leading the way with real-time energy management, the RTEM program, who many of you were already familiar with when it was under NYSERDA, and now has transitioned under Con Edison. And today with Linnea, we'll also introduce a new initiative aimed on incentivizing emerging technologies through an exciting new program called Next. And Linnea.
Great, thank you, Andrea. All right, so I'm going to be talking about the Real-Time Energy Management Program. What this is, it is a program to incentivize you to do more with what you already have, to optimize how your building is operating and really achieve the peak energy performance that you can, leveraging software analytics tools. And the RTEM program is also a little different than our other energy efficiency programs, right? There's no incentive offer letter. You don't have to get a pre-approval for every optimization that you do. It's kind of all flipped in reverse. So it's a pay-for-performance program, and what you do is you will enroll the project, and we'll talk through the different steps on the next slide. And I'll also be talking about how to become a vendor. If you have an analytics firm that you're working with or are interested in working with and they're not on our vendor list, you can certainly put them in touch with us and we can onboard them. So first, who's eligible? It's open to commercial and industrial, multifamily, and small business portfolios of buildings that have an average annual electric demand of at least 100 kW. Let's say you have solar on your building and you have a really low electric demand. As long as your kilowatt hour consumption is at least 800,000, we will also accept that. In terms of incentives, they are paid based on verified savings from you using an analytics, platform to improve operations. And we are paying, again, based on those like kilowatt hours or gas therms saved, up to 50% of the software, RTEM software subscription costs. If you have a building that has heat pumps, you'll actually get a bonus incentive for that, for deploying an RTEM system to improve its operation. And again, as I mentioned, any software vendor that has a qualifying RTEM system can potentially get qualified in our program. We operate it just like our other programs where they would become participating contractors and vendors in the RTEM program. Next slide. Great. So our current incentive rates. One thing that is a change from last year is we used to have 2 different incentive rates. We've collapsed those into a single incentive rate, so 35 cents per kilowatt hour, $5 per therm saved. We'll also incentivize steam savings if the operational measure that you've implemented also achieves electricity savings. It's due to regulatory language around how we incentivize steam. And as I mentioned, there's a bonus for heat pumps, so you'll get an additional 10 cents per kilowatt hour saved if the savings are coming from a heat pump driven system. Thank you. Okay, so on the process, and Andrew, can you click forward? Because there's some little, there we go. So our project life cycle, as I mentioned, it's different. So you would apply to enroll the building in the program with a particular RTEM provider. We'd get you the notice to proceed within a week or so. Then you can move forward with installing the RTEM system. The vendor will work on getting all the data, maybe from your existing BMS or other control systems that you already have, into their platform. And then they're going to start making recommendations. They may find that you have, simultaneous heating and cooling or other things that they could adjust by making some changes to set points or sequences within your existing control system. You'll then prepare an incentive application listing all of the improvements that you made. Typically, it's the RTEM provider that's going to prepare this report, submit it to us. It'll be reviewed by Resource Innovations, who is our implementation provider on this. They will also ask for trend data from, from the BMS, and typically the RTEM provider will be able to pull that data to provide it so that they can verify that the operational changes that you listed on your incentive application actually occurred. And then we will pay out for those savings. Another unique thing about how we designed this program, back one slide still, is that we designed it to empower you to do more with the building and get rewarded for that. So the more thoroughly you use your RTEM system to achieve deeper savings, the more you can earn. So you're allowed to apply for new measures that come out of the RTEM analytics over time. So in the first application, you might have optimized your cooling system. You submit an application to us. We pay for those cooling savings. 6 months later, you may have optimized some of your heating operations. You can submit an application and we'll pay for those. We will pay for deeper operational measures up to 4 times over 3 years, with the caveat that we currently don't have funding past 2026. So we encourage you to get your application in soon and get as much out of this program as you can. And our expectation is that once our regulators decide on what the funding will be, that we'll be able to continue the program into the next efficiency cycle period. All right, on to the next slide. I want to just quickly talk about what the process for deploying these systems is. First, your RTEM vendor will typically stream data from your BMS or other existing control systems. They will work to create a plan of action items for improving operations. You can see some of the examples there. They can work with you to implement them, or they may be able to implement them themselves depending on your preference. Optimized, start-stop times of the building, fans, pumps is a measure that we commonly see, as well as things like equipment staging to make sure that they are operating most efficiently and not spiking demand. And then finally, you'll get all that trend data and submit it to us in an application package. We've gone through this cycle at least 6 or 7 times now on projects. It's been fairly straightforward. I know gathering data can sound like it's a challenge, but the RTEM providers really are set up well to do this. And typically we're able to turn around incentives in 3 to 4 months from the initial application for doing a project. All right, next slide. All right, one additional thing that we've added this year is the opportunity to get incentives for thermal energy storage paired with an RTEM system. And the incentives here are for increasing the efficiency of your HVAC system with thermal energy storage. So I'll give an example. If you were to deploy thermal energy storage in like a refrigerated warehouse and run your chiller that used to be running in the day at night, there very likely will be an efficiency improvement in that chiller's COP. And we could pay for that efficiency improvement. Now, the main reason you'd probably do it is for the load shift and for the demand cost savings. But we've been able to, with this RTEM, this sort of like data heavy MNV light process, be able to calculate the improved chiller plant efficiency to pay for those operational savings. So we're really excited about this one. If you are interested in pursuing this, please reach out to us. We'll go through the project scopes with you. We have some rules about how the incentives work. But this one is new and exciting for us. And we've also partnered with the Non-Wire Solutions team to try to help them deploy these kinds of projects in the Jamaica network for the demand reduction. Next slide. Okay, and finally, if you want to become, if you or a vendor that you work with wants to become a participating contractor in the RTEM program, these are some of the requirements. You can reach out to us and we can get that vendor onboarded. Finally, I'll say if you have more questions about RTEM, I am doing a webinar in about 10 minutes at 2 p.m. Where we'll go into more details on the program. Any questions? Oh, we'll save questions for the next, and I think Andrea, in the last few minutes, I'll jump here into the Emerging Technology Program. So this is another program I run where we help develop incentives for new technologies. Typically, these new technologies will apply for incentives also through like the core energy efficiency program, such as the commercial and industrial program. But we'll play this additional role of helping shepherd that project along and overcoming any obstacles. Just to give you a quick example, next slide, of the kinds of things that we're looking for. We want things that have the opportunity to scale within our market. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of these building envelope ones, but we've really seen a lot of growth in our pipelines for these projects because we've been able to streamline it a bit with our new building envelope calculator that now has all the inputs that you would need to get a quicker estimate of what the incentive would be. We're also looking at liquid desiccant cooling. There's a company called Blue Frontier that essentially has a new way of cooling incoming air that doesn't use a vapor compression cycle. So significant demand savings, as well as it's just more efficient process than running a compressor. On the airflow management side, we've been looking at deploying grocery like refrigeration shelf blades that help the cool air not spill out into the aisles as much, in particularly our small business sector, as well as doing some projects. Category is advanced duct sealing, but the company that does it is called AeroSeal, and they have this special polymer that they're able to blow through the ductwork that is good at sticking only in the cracks and filling them. And so we've started to see some of those projects as well for sealing ductwork that historically you just wouldn't have been able to get access to. And then finally, we are looking as well at new electrification solutions, particularly heat pumps that are able to phase up to actually make steam. Next slide. All right, so a little bit more on high performance windows. I mentioned window inserts. You may have heard of these also as secondary windows, basically installing another pane of something behind your existing window. Two technologies that can actually be used as window inserts or as a window replacement are thin triple pane windows, and another one is vacuum insulated glass. Both of these are pretty new to the market, and they're able to achieve very thin profiles. With the vacuum insulated glass in particular, they are sometimes able, depending on the condition of your existing framing, able to replace just the glass on your existing windows. And that often will lead to significant cost savings because you don't have to replace the frame. So very exciting. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me, paytonl@coned.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linnea. We're so excited to see all those new initiatives that are resulting out of all this new technology. We are going to be cutting it close with a little bit of time here, but we're going to extend the webinar as much as we can because we do have some exciting news in regards to NYSERDA. And here we have Alexander Jayan, who's leading the way through the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, driving efforts to support clean energy initiatives and sustainability across New York. He is bringing some exciting news for everyone joining us today.
Sorry, could I just add before Alexander begins that if people do want to put questions into the Q&A on the panel within the screen, you can do that and we can prepare some remarks and some responses to them as Alexander's going through. So if you do have burning questions, you can type them into the questions box. Thank you all.
So Alex, I'm going to have you take the stage.
I see. Thank you. So up here on the screen, there's essentially 4 different types of programs that exist at NYSERDA for this year. Energy studies and design work, more centered around technical assistance. Then there's energy manager, which is a physical on-site energy manager that would be part of your energy staff that NYSERDA would subsidize. And then there's training opportunities for building operators and maintenance training. And then there's actual implementation funding for larger capital projects. Next slide, please. So the first one to start with, it's a legacy program that's been around with NYSERDA for a long time, FlexTech program. There are, this covers between 50 and 100% of incentives. This is really, think of this as the best first step within NYSERDA to start, where you can get a qualified engineering firm to study, whether it's an audit or feasibility study, retro commissioning, and then essentially that plan, that report will then give you recommended measures and the costs associated as well as the potential savings. So this is really a great place to start from a commercial building owner to understand where do I start on my energy journey. Next slide. So, as I mentioned, you must work with Improved FlexTech Consultant or an independent service provider. On this link on the left, there's plenty of more information on this. Must pay into the SBC on your electric bill. And then also there are certain increased measures of cost share when it comes to whether disadvantaged communities or safety net hospitals, but then all additional funding is provided at 50% cost share. Next slide. So if you understand that you have a specific measure that's going to be focusing on heat recovery, before you start with Con Ed and their C&I program with heat recovery and implementation funding, a great place to start would be looking either at an assessment where you could receive up to $40,000 of cost share at 75%, or the design of that work at $80,000 cost share up to 75%. So this is an open enrollment program where you have an opportunity to either do an assessment and or a design when it's focused on the heat recovery measure. So if you know there's a heat recovery measure, this is the place to start and then you can roll off onto an implementation program that Con Ed could offer. Next slide. So that's fine. So skipping to large scale thermal. So the difference for this one is this is for buildings of a certain size, over 150,000 square feet, or if there's multiple buildings that are looking to a large scale thermal project. This is a design program that it's competitive, so it's not open enrollment. So there is, and I know it says round 2 due date was last month, but there's a new one that just opened that goes until May, I believe. You can see that on the website. But essentially, this is for larger buildings or multiple buildings that want to look at a large-scale thermal project and receive funding for the design of that said project. Next slide. So just to see the eligibility, cost share, there is a cost share component to this. Like I mentioned, larger buildings or multiple buildings. This is an effort that is out now with a third round just opening. And certainly worthy if you have a specific type of building that fits in this criteria. Next slide. So for buildings looking to have growing staff when it comes to energy directors or managers, this is a great place to incentivize or subsidize your staff costs. Minimum time commitment of 20 hours per week, maximum 40 hours per week. The scope is relatively general, but it obviously must be related to energy management and efficiency. And this can be fulfilled by permanent staff from a consultant or a hybrid of the two, and the payments can be flexible as well. Next slide. So there's some funding caps here at 100,000 and 200,000 for larger projects. Again, must pay into the SBC electric bill for this one. And then there's some additional cost share if you have certain disadvantaged communities or safety net hospitals are eligible for that. And then there's smaller bonuses payments if there are large projects that are gained through this on-site energy manager as they go through with their work. Next slide. Quickly, there is a building operations and maintenance training. This is specific for supporting the development and execution of on-site training for your operational staff. The program will cover up to 90% of the training costs with a cap of 500,000. So, yep, okay. So the commercial and industrial carbon challenge. Sorry, could we go back one slide? The other way. Okay, one more. Sorry. Okay, so to finish the building operations and maintenance training, this is an opportunity to receive direct fundings for training of your staff. So again, the link is there to follow up and apply for this directly online. Next slide. So moving into actual implementation programs that NYSERDA has to offer this year for commercial buildings, this is focused on reducing carbon. These are for larger scale projects, and they offer 50 to 75% cost share. This leverages the CFA to apply, and then they run typically from May through July. So please check the link for certain details on when to apply. And then on the next slide, you'll see there is a chart to show you the payment structure and how the reduction in carbon leads to a certain dollar amount. And these awards can range from $500,000 to $3.75 million. So these are determined on the size of carbon savings, but typically larger projects and larger scale. Next slide. So the last program to talk about today, this is a new program. Right now it sits with manufacturers, but this is an effort that NYSERDA is trying to take on to eliminate PTACs and integrate PTHPs, package terminal heat pumps. So NYSERDA is investing $10 million to work with manufacturers to develop specific types of prototypes that are highly efficient, cold climate operation, possess flexible condensate management, as well as improve the indoor air quality. Next slide. So where this program sits right now is in this first phase of manufacturer partnerships, and those proposals will be due towards the end of this month. But then wanted to bring this to everyone's attention here for building managers is because next we'll be looking for building owner partnerships and demonstration sites. That will be an RFQL that'll be coming out soon, probably by April of this year. But then essentially there will be opportunities for building owners and managers to test these prototypes and receive incentives and early adopter incentives. Next slide. These are some standard PTACs and sizes from whether it's commercial or multifamily buildings or hotels, nursing homes as well. These are areas that we are looking to encourage and design around to bring PTHPs forward rather than PTACs, and then replace these in demonstration sites in the near future. Next slide. So to round it out, there'll be up to $1.25 million per product in the development, as well as $1 million siphoned off for the demonstration of that award. So this is 100% cost share from NYSERDA. So this is a generous demonstration funding. So certainly to be looking out for if this is your building can fit with this type of PTAC, current PTAC, and now moving to PTHP and would like to test these new products. Next slide. So yes, this is, again, if there are certain manufacturers, this is where they can go submit. This is the proposals are due towards the end of this month, but then as I mentioned, the RFQL for demonstration sites will be opening in April of this year. Next slide. So just to recap, last slide, as I mentioned, energy studies and design work, focus on technical assistance. Those are usually the best place to start for your building, even ahead of a Con Ed implementation program. And then if there's needs for on-site staff, energy manager can be cost shared, or if there's training that's needed as well, there's specific in-kind contributions for that. And then there's sort of these larger scale innovative efforts when it comes to carbon challenge or heat recovery or PTHP that we have implementation funding for. Last slide. So again, this is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any follow-up here. But like I said, on every single one of these slides is the direct link to that program, which has their own program staff, and they could answer those questions more specifically than I could. But certainly happy to guide you in any way at NYSERDA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander. We need to have a part 2 of this as the programs continue to change and evolve. For a final Q&A, please feel free to drop any remaining questions in the chat. We want to thank BOMA New York for being able to provide this forum for you guys, and we appreciate your time and engagement. I'm going to pass this on to Chris so that we can actually start the Q&A session.
Sure, I know we are. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks to all the speakers. I know we are a bit over time, so why don't we decide we'll take maybe 5 or 8 more minutes and then call it, just so that people know what to expect. I think clearly there is a lot of programs out here. I've been in this industry now for 15 plus years and seeing more and more programs coming out. There are some questions that have come in the chat. Some may need some follow up by text or email, but there is a question here about some successful RTEM project examples. Wondering if somebody could answer that. I know it's evolved between Con Ed and NYSERDA. Are there any current RTEM successful projects under the current program, or is it so new that they're really still in progress? Dan, under the NYSERDA version of the program?
Yeah, I can answer this. I led that RTEM program when I was at NYSERDA. We did over 1,500 projects throughout the city and state. So there's a number of case studies as well as a map within the NYSERDA website. I'll put the link here in the chat so people can take a look in more detail. Some successful work that we did under the RTEM program before it was transferred to both Con Ed and National Grid.
That's great. We'll make sure that these chats come through. I want to make sure the chat is coming out to the attendees as well, not just to the organizers. I think some of those chats are just visible to the organizers. So we'll make sure that some of those case studies get shared out. I guess my main question that are on a lot of people's minds is really like, where do you start? I think a lot of owners are thinking about projects, or contractors are thinking about projects, and the question is just, where do you start? So I think a little bit of the answer, at least from my perspective, is that the accelerator is a great place to start. They really have a purview over all of the programs, and they can help you guide in the right direction. I do have maybe a pointed question to both Con Ed and NYSERDA. are you open to meeting together with the building owner so that they can say, hey, I've got this building, I'm looking at a boiler project, maybe a window project, and will you sit down with them collaboratively and talk to a building owner about where to start in terms of which programs might be most beneficial? Or Valerie, have you ever moderated that kind of a meeting between Con Ed, NYSERDA, and a building owner? Oh, I think you're muted. Still muted.
So, Chris, I'm going to jump in.
Go for it.
Most certainly, Con Edison is able to facilitate those meetings. They actually call them building assessments. So, where Con Ed comes out, whether it's through a participating contractor or directly with the owner, and they go through their CapEx. So, they want to be able to capture all of the work that they're undertaking in the building and be able to go through each new implementation of an energy efficiency project and be able to get started there, right? So let's understand what projects the building is undergoing and what qualifies, so that we can guide you through their process. And then through NYSERDA, I think what's been beneficial is to know exactly when to apply for a flex tech, or if it's a portfolio through the OSIM program, to be able to say we've identified we have an 87 retrocommissioning going at this building. Can we leverage some funding there through NYSERDA? Or we're planning to reduce our overall consumption by 10 to 20%. Can we just figure out the path with NYSERDA so they can actually help us cost share this expense? And that's been ways where they absolutely are willing to work directly with owners through consultants or directly to be able to facilitate these programs. And that's the starting point, is contact the folks that you trusted partners, your consultants, your utility companies, and get guidance from them, because the process could be a little bit cumbersome. However, once you have reached the starting point, it becomes a bit of a roadmap, and there's a lot of folks that are willing to help.
That's great. Valerie, sorry, did you get your microphone going?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay. Yes, we meet with building owners, property managers, and, we do multifamily, so we meet with boards all the time. Or you can have a call with your engineer, and, whatever you want to do, however many people you want, we do it whenever you want. So, yeah.
And
It's
I
always
guess,
collaborative. It's always very collaborative.
and I guess the part of that question is, how far along in the process do you need to be in order to start this discussion around incentives? And it sounds like, at least from some of these discussions, it can be quite early on, right? I think because what we found is that some owners dismiss types of projects, dismiss types of retrofits, not being fully aware of what those incentives could be. So I'd say, at least from our perspective, start with everything and sit down to understand where those incentives might actually improve the ROI on projects that historically maybe you thought were beyond some of your ROI goals. So I think that is probably the first piece of this that I would recommend, is to start early. Reach out to the accelerator, reach out to your partners, as Andrea said, if you're working with a contractor or somebody already. And both Con Ed and NYSERDA do carry lists of their approved vendors within their programs. So that's also a good place to start.
Great, Chris. There was a question piggyback on your last comment in regards to a list of participating contractors. Most certainly there is, through both the accelerator and through Con Edison directly. And we can provide those links so that you can link up with all the participating contractors that they have available.
That's great.
We also, I just wanted to say something. We did, it wasn't me personally, but in the accelerator, we did a 100% electrification of a building, and the engineer they wanted to work with was not a NYSERDA FlexTech provider, so they weren't eligible for the incentives. So what we did was we helped the contractor, the engineering firm, become a FlexTech provider. And so then they could access all the incentives.
That's great. Yeah, I think even that underscores the main point that was discussed, which is you need to get in touch with these program administrators early on, because essentially money you've spent is almost never able to be recouped through these rebate programs, whether or not it's money to a design, a consultant, an engineering firm, or money used for purchasing equipment. Once you've spent that money out the door, you almost never getting incentives back for that kind of thing. So start, I think the goal here is start earlier than you'd even imagine, right? Start as you're contemplating these projects.
Right, and
100%.
we're a very collaborative program. So the accelerator works closely with the DOB. As it happens, we're now working with the fire department to get a battery approval. We're we obviously the mayor's office, the DEP, and the contractors and NYSERDA. So it's a collaborative effort. We're all on the same team.
That's great. Any other questions from the audience? I know we got a few on the chat into the Q&A, but I know that we are over time. Andrea, any other thoughts that you would want to add? I think we do want to let people go, given that we're over our time.
Yeah, no, we want to thank you guys for all the time. I think we will see a part 2 of this coming up with a lot of these deadlines and new programs coming into the new years to come. And with administration changes, we foresee some changes on this as well. So last comments is we want to encourage you to make sure that you reach out to your consultants, to your partners. And I cannot emphasize it enough. I've walked into many buildings where they've completed an energy efficiency project, and they've asked us if we can apply for an incentive. And unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, we cannot. But we will guide you through that process on the next ones. And thank you to everyone who's joined the call. We look forward to this year full of incentives and getting you to a place where you won't be facing fines for the near future.
No, absolutely. Yes, definitely more to come. Great. Well, thank you all for attending. Thanks for joining this webinar from BOMA, and we will be excited to see you at the next one. Bye all.
Oh, I'm sorry. One last question. We did have NYSERDA CNI Carbon Challenge. Will they be accepting applications? I believe this is for Alex.
Yep.
And yep.
I'll put a link for this question. Right now it's not open, but it's going to be the next, I believe by the end of this quarter, they will accept new applications for the next round.
Okay.
Perfect. All righty. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. See you at the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.